Big day for Facebook. The new Facebook News tab. Let's talk about that. Because as a journalist in New York City that's worked at half these companies, and knows friends that work at the other half, I have some thoughts. And I think there are some nuanced complexities about this new Facebook deal between media companies and the largest social network that have implications that I think nobody really wants to talk about. There are positive ways to view this new business deal and negative ways to view it, but I think the best way is to have a pragmatic, realistic approach to what it means when Facebook is suddenly going to pay millions of dollars to select media news companies, not only pay them millions of dollars, but feature their stories right on the front page of Facebook. How is this going to change journalism? Well, according to the CEO of News Corp, it is fantastic. Good old Thompson, who for years railed against Facebook as slime, and Mark Zuckerberg personally being responsible for the desecration and destruction of journalism, is up there shaking hands with Mark Zuckerberg like it's Nixon and Elvis Presley meeting. Like, oh, what a fantastic day. Jonah Peretti's blasting out company-wide emails. BuzzFeeders, today is a brilliant day for media, like it's the third day and Jesus has risen again. Hallelujah. We're getting millions of dollars. Well, yeah, it is a good day for media. Turns out that news division worked for you suddenly. Company wasn't making any money, it was in the red, and you weren't able to raise any more VC capital, and now suddenly Facebook's going to pay you guys millions of dollars? Yeah, it is a good day for certain media companies, and not others. And that's, I think, a key point. First, who got the determination? Because you're going to see articles from Breitbart, BuzzFeed, New York Times, Washington Post, the Daily Caller. Who's making a decision on these media companies that we get shown that are trustworthy? Well, Facebook's not actually deciding. Facebook has outsourced that to the International Fact Checkers Association, which is actually run by Pointers, which is a kind of media news collective down in Florida. Now, I don't know much about Pointers, but from my understanding of them, you feel free to check them out on your own leisure time. They have no real agenda other than the continuation and employment for as many journalists as possible. So they're serving their own self-interest and trying to increase the journalism industry. But beyond that, they don't strike me as a Southern Poverty Law Center, perhaps the company that most personifies a Napoleon complex in all their childish and discriminatory and vindictive practices. SPLC, no good. Pointers and this International Fact Checkers Association strikes me as pretty even-keeled, which is why you saw them approve the Daily Caller, much to the chagrin of AOC when she was grilling Mark Zuckerberg, and she said, why is the Daily Caller, being determined as an authoritative voice? Well, it's because, as Zuckerberg so laconically pointed out, it's not actually Facebook making the determination. They're outsourcing that cleverly so they don't have to take into the heat when somebody cries wolf or calls foul and says, why is Breitbart being shown on my news feed, or why is CNN, this cancerous news network? Dear Lord, what is Facebook doing? Facebook's not making the determination. They're cutting a check to Pointers to make that determination for them and also take any of the PR hits that may come along with it. Pretty savvy but standard technical maneuver here on Facebook's part. So they get to ride this kind of glow of we are supporting and funding modern journalism, and they don't have to take the responsibility of determining who the authoritative voices are. They've ceded that over to Pointers, a journalism association. Alright. But the real question, beyond the fact of some media companies not getting these checks and other media companies getting these checks, the determination of what's trustworthy and what's not, is what occurs with the companies that are getting the checks. Because the main national news companies are the ones getting the checks. Your New York Times, your Washington Post, the things you think of, the news companies you think of, they're the ones getting the checks. And this business deal has some curious consequences. For one, it allows Facebook to kind of quash media and news stories that otherwise maybe would not have been as quashable. It cedes a little bit of their editorial authority to Facebook, because now Facebook is the curator of what news you get to see at the kind of front of your page, no longer quite as determined by likes and shares. Now it's being curated by Facebook. So if, let's say, there's a story that's negative on Facebook, Facebook might bury that story. But beyond burying any negative Facebook story, like you're burying your first dead hamster, there is a chilling effect that I think may occur. And this is what I talk about when I say I don't mean to be overly negative or overly positive, but pragmatic. And there is not a newsroom that I have worked in that has not been at least implicitly influenced by the people that cut their checks, the advertisers. And this idea that there's some separation of church and state is ridiculous. There is always pressure and influence on newsrooms to pull stories or change stories due to their corporate interests. And this has always occurred, and I don't want to hear any media company try to deny it. I can think of stories, it doesn't matter what media company it is, that has caved on some level, caved editorially, mind you, on some level, to the greater economic incentives of the company. And by allowing Facebook to become such a large component of news companies' revenue model, meaning they are dependent on these large checks from Facebook to continue their news operation, it creates a chilling effect where it may no longer be quite as incentivized to write negative stories on Facebook when Facebook is cutting checks and promoting your stories. You don't want to bite the hand that feeds you, so to speak, to use an old biblical parable. But of course, the concept is not new. It's basically a revenue sharing model. What's occurring is Facebook is finally deciding to cut a portion of the advertising money that Facebook makes back to the people that make the content. They're simply doing what YouTube recognized they should do years and years ago, which is that YouTube, as a site that hosts content, recognizes most of their value is derived from the people that make content for them. And so that it would be better if they paid the people that make videos on their platform to incentivize them to create more videos. And so, essentially, what is occurring is that every video uploaded to YouTube is simply a license agreement. And that by uploading my video on YouTube, this video itself, I am licensing it to YouTube. And within that license is a revenue share deal where YouTube gets some of the advertising money and I get some of the advertising money. Honestly, I never get any of the advertising money because all these videos are always demonetized. But under ideal, very ideal, manna, Valhalla ideal situations, that's theoretically what would be occurring. Facebook is simply saying, well, we've run banner ads across your articles on Facebook for years and years and years now and never paid you a dime. Sure, we can cut you a check. You are driving a lot of traffic to our site. A lot of people are reading your articles on Facebook and not on your site. The New York Times, Mr. New York Times, or Mr. Washington Post, or Miss Vox. So this idea of platforms cutting checks back to publishers isn't entirely new. It's just Facebook is deciding to do it with not individual creators, but large media companies and cutting big checks. And the idea, or the problem with the big checks, is that when you're a YouTube content creator, you're never quite dependent too much on one sole advertiser, unless you're selling your soul to Squarespace or BetterHelp.com, and they're cutting you large checks where you're suddenly incentivized to make videos solely about mental health services that may not be too reliable. You have a distributed, decentralized revenue stream. There's many advertisers on YouTube, and so that Coca-Cola may pull out, that's okay, you'll still collect money on the advertising that's going on across the platform. But with a large company that's being paid directly by one publisher, merely on the determinant that this publisher views it as trustworthy, and in the greater interest of Facebook's PR idea that they can go to Congress and go to the American public at large and say, look, no, we are supporting journalism, and also get the journalists off their back saying, you're taking all our advertising money away. Facebook saying, here, fine. They pull out their fat wallet and handing them a load of cash. Well, you get dependent on that wad of cash coming in every time. And you can see this already. Many digital media company was dependent on Facebook Watch contracts. And when the Facebook Watch, their video contracts, didn't go through, these companies folded. Exemplis gratias Mike.com. And within this system, I think the real problem will be that newsrooms over time will see their editorial authority eroded due to the large paymaster that is Facebook, and that the economic incentives of the business and the the potential loss of those checks that Facebook is now paying out would be too great to perhaps be as aggressive with some of the reporting that journalism does. These are just my thoughts. Curious to see what you guys think down below. Who knows what will happen? It also may crumble in 6 months and we'll be back where we started. Thanks for watching, guys. If you found this interesting or insightful, leave a comment down below. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye.